Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer from JForrestEnglish.com, and today I'm very excited because I'm talking to one of my students, Lina, who's a student in my program Speak to Impress. And Lina is going to share how she became a confident English speaker. Hello, Lina. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Thank you. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks. Now, Lina, why don't you first tell everyone where you're from, where you live, and what you do?
I live in Israel. I was born in Russia, so I speak two languages all the time. And now I'm learning English. It's my third language, and it's a little difficult when you need to speak three languages. I work in the information technology. I use English all the time, but for especially for reading and sometimes for writing. But I had no chance to speak English, so it was very important for me to practice English, and that's why I joined to the Speak to Impress course. And I can speak. I could speak English a little before I started the course, but it was very difficult for me because I struggled to find needed words to express my mind, and I didn't feel confidently. When I now I learned in this course for half a year, 6 months, and I feel much better, more confidence, and I also sometimes can't find needed words, but now I learned how to find another words, how to express my mind by means of another words, not to stuck with this problem. And the atmosphere of this course is very supporting, and I like coaching calls because it's the most important part of this course, and it gives me a lot. And not only for speaking, also for listening and for understanding English, because people from different countries speak English, and I listened to them, and I started to understand better another accent. This course benefits me not only for speaking, but also for understanding, for listening. So I would recommend this course to another people, and for development their speaking skills and for their listening skills. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for sharing all that information. It's great to hear that you're making those improvements, not only for your speaking, but other areas as well. That's awesome. Now, you mentioned that before you struggled to find the words and you didn't really feel confident with your speaking. Why do you think that was?
Um, because of lack of practice, I learned English for many years in my childhood, in my youth, and so during all my life, but I had no opportunity to speak. So it's maybe all these words they are in stack inside me, but they're not on the top of my head. So it's very difficult for me to find them on spot. So practice is the most important thing for me.
Yeah, so you've been learning English since your childhood, you said, and of course, you've gained so much knowledge about the English language, but you just didn't have the opportunity to take that knowledge and use it in your speech. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And when we listen to another students, and the same words I hear now, I can recognize them. So it's repetition. So it's also um, mm, for me, it's not only speaking, it's also learning. Maybe not uh, for the first time, for the second time, to learn the same words, and you also learned us new words during this coaching calls. That's exactly what I like it.
Yeah, exactly. Because as you're speaking, you need to think of the word, and if you don't know the word, you have to learn the word in order to express your idea.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what.
you work in information technology in Israel. So why is it important for you to improve your English speaking skills?
Um, I can't say that it's so necessary for my work because my knowledge it's enough for reading, for understanding all articles, for reading all information that I'm looking uh, in the internet for my job. But I want, but sometimes I participate in different courses and different conferences that they are in English, and it's very important for me to understand what lecture speak about, and on the top of it, I would like to travel to United States and to Canada, and I need English for traveling. And another thing, uh, I'm thinking about my life after retirement, and maybe I use English after retirement for something else.
Well, it sounds like there's lots of opportunities, even though not directly in your career now, but just for traveling, for future opportunities. And I hear that from so many students, just improving their English speaking skills and feeling confident in English just helps so many different areas of their lives beyond just their current career.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you mentioned before you were learning English, but not speaking it, not using your English. And then you join Speak to Impress. So why don't you share with everyone how are you practicing your speaking skills and using your English in the program Speak to Impress?
First of all, it's coaching calls, and during these coaching calls, we everyone has the opportunity to speak, to answer the questions, maybe 3, 4, even 5 times, um, twice a week. And besides it, we practice in our community, in school, in a site of school where Jennifer um, post some questions and we can record our answers. And the third thing, it's speaking with our partner. We have um, some 3 or 4 times a week our sessions with other students, and we try to speak during these sessions on also on WhatsApp, sometimes in um, Facebook Messenger, sometimes in Zoom, uh, uh, to practice conversations and even the same format as we are doing during our coaching calls. So I speak now almost every day, maybe half hour or maybe more every day. Now I have opportunities to speak English.
Wow, that's awesome. So you went from just learning English your entire life, gaining all this knowledge, but now for the first time, you're consistently speaking in English and doing it in many different ways as well. So, what has that done for your confidence speaking, all the practice that you've been getting in the program?
I feel more confident now. I don't hesitate to speak English. It gives me confidence. It gives me fluency. I understand that I have a long way, that I need practice, practice, and practice. But now I feel I see the result of my learning. So it's not in vain all this time. And besides the English learning, it's also a community. It's we became friends. It's especially now in the time when people so lonely and they're sitting at home and working at home a lot. Uh, to have practice with the same students almost every day, it's the same as get together with the friends. So I feel happy that now I can speak the same language with people from different countries to share my experience, to share my knowledge, to share my minds. It's awesome, and I'm so happy, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to you, Jennifer.
It's amazing the connections that have been made just with students from around the world all practicing in this program, and especially since you're not just learning about grammar, you're communicating, you're speaking, so you learn about each other, you learn about each other's cultures, and you discuss interesting topics with each other. So I understand how that can be really fulfilling and give you that sense of community and social connection to people around the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, it's a very valuable thing in this course.
Yeah, and in addition to the social connection, you mentioned earlier that hearing students speak in different accents has really helped your listening skills in English as well. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I remember that at the beginning of this course, it was difficult for me to understand another students from different countries. And now I don't feel any problems with that. And it's more interesting for me to hear to them their answers during or during our connection conversations. Uh, so it's really helpful and valuable for me, and
That's
I
a really
appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a really great point because English does not belong to native English speakers. It's an international language, and you are going to hear people from all different accents and backgrounds speaking in English, and you have to get comfortable with different accents and different styles of speech as well. And that's what you're doing just with people from around the world.
Yeah, exactly. And especially that I had an idea to work as a volunteer in some museums after my retirement, and with tourists. It's very important for me to understand and to speak with people from different countries.
Absolutely. Of course, tourists are coming from all around the world.
The
So
world.
when they
Yeah,
speak, in order to communicate, you have to first understand the question in order to provide an answer.
yeah.
Now, you mentioned our coaching calls, and in our coaching calls, you practice your impromptu speaking skills where you're asked a question randomly you weren't expecting. Now, before you started doing this practice, how did you feel when you were asked a question in English and you had to reply instantly?
Wow, it was so difficult for me. And it's not, it wasn't only the problem of English. it was also in my own languages that I speak fluently. It was difficult for me to answer these questions because this speaking ability is not related only to English. It's our inner ability. And this course, it develops the speaking ability, these skills to answer and not to be prepared for these questions. And even sometimes it's weird questions, but sometimes it's questions that it's easy for me to answer. But during this practice, I feel that it's easier and it's easier for me to answer.
That's a really great point you raised that even in our own native language, imagine just being asked a question to share your views on a current event or to share a piece of advice or recommendation, or everybody going to a job interview, that feeling you get when you're asked a question and you don't know how to reply. So it's a skill, like you said, that you, of course, are practicing it in English, but you can take those same skills and use them in your native language to communicate effectively as well.
Yeah, it's a skill that everybody needs, and even English native speakers will be glad to develop these skills.
Absolutely. So now, after practicing and practicing and practicing in the program, how do you feel when you're asked a question on the spot and you have to answer instantly in English?
Now, I feel much better than it was before and more confident, but I need to practice more and more. I feel it. And what I that I'm doing all the time. I try to do it.
Exactly. And that's a good point you raise because it's about the practice, the practice and practice, and the more you practice, the better you get, and that's why there are so many different opportunities to practice and keep practicing in the program.
Okay.
Now, who do you think should join the program Speak to Impress?
I think that everybody, and it doesn't matter what age. I know that if somebody is younger, uh, it's more easier for this person to learn and to become a fluent English speaker. But even for me, that I'm 60 years old, I feel that it contributes me a lot. So I advise to everybody to join this course. It's really important for many aspects of our life, our speaking, development, our speaking skills, our community, uh, to feel more involved in community, to interact with more younger people. It's also a great opportunity that I didn't have before, and it can give you more confidence with your future plans for future travels. So I will advise to everybody to enjoy this course, Speak to Impress.
Well, thank you so much, Lina, for being here and sharing your story with everyone. I'm sure you've inspired a lot of students out there who were just like you, learning English for years and years, but not getting the chance to practice. So they didn't have the confidence. They struggled with their speaking skills. But now you're practicing, you've gained the confidence, you made the improvement. So that's given hope to other students that they can do the same as you. So thank you so much for sharing your story today.